yesterday when we talked to Justin Hollins.
Yeah.
He raved about, working with you somewhat indirectly, because obviously you weren't his exact position
Sure.
coach. But what did you like about him when you had him out there, and what do you think he can do for you here?
Well, we claimed him my last year in LA. He had been released by the Broncos, and we claimed him and came in. And I think the thing that I noticed about Justin, which we're gonna have to rely on that again, is that how really savvy and smart, and he was able to, he made a seamless adjustment, because like I said, we signed him. He got cut in the very last cut after the last preseason game that year. Or it was the COVID year. There wasn't a preseason, but he made it to the last cut, and we signed him, and then he was active that week. So I was joking with him, very similar situation for him here. So he literally, the first time that we all saw him, the first time Matt met him was Thursday walking out to practice. So, usually you'd like for those situations to happen a little bit earlier in the week when you get a guy. Maybe you can give him a crash course on a Tuesday, prepare him for Wednesday and Thursday practice. But he literally got here walking out to the practice field. So. But we'll see what happens. He was able to get a little bit of work yesterday, got a little bit more work today. So we'll see. But he's a great kid. He's played a lot of football. He just played in the Super Bowl 6 months ago. So he's played a lot of ball he's been on the biggest of stages. So it's not going to be too big for him, and he's a great kid, and hopefully we can use him.
What's the biggest challenge? Hurts has a lot of challenges there. What's the biggest challenge going up against the guy who has the big time receivers but also can run?
Sure. I'll answer this like I have a ton of respect for. I was with Nick Sirianni and Shane Steichen as young quality control coaches at the Chargers years ago. Nick was our offensive quality control, and actually Shane was our defensive quality control. So I know both those guys. I got a ton of respect for them as men and as coaches, and it does not surprise me the job that they've done. Obviously Nick with the entire team, but Shane with the offense, and the job that they've done with Jalen Hurt. The thing that I think I have the most respect for is that Jalen's an unbelievable talent. Was a big time recruit coming out of high school, had a phenomenal college career, and they've really catered. This is his team. They've catered this team. They've made this offense. They've made this team. They've adapted it to what he does really well, and I think that's pretty cool. They haven't tried to make him something that he's not. They've allowed him to be who he is, and he's arguably in the MVP discussions now. So does a great job. Obviously running the ball. That's probably them as a team, not just him as an individual. They do a really good job being committed and staying committed to the run game. But then when they do throw the ball, whether it's in the RPO game, whether it's in if they do ask him to drop back, he's done a phenomenal job, and he's got 2 big time targets in 11 and 6. So they make you defend everything on 1st and 2nd down, on 3rd down, in red zone, in 2 minute. It doesn't matter the situation. They make you defend them, and they've done a phenomenal job. So it's an exciting challenge, and it's a big challenge.
When you have a guy like Brown,
Yeah.
Justin Jefferson coming up down the road, those big elite kind of guys. How much more difficult does it make your job having to, you saw Jefferson yesterday.
Sure.
He took a deep shot. I mean, the coverage was great. He got
Yeah.
smashed, and he could still cut the ball and win the game on it.
Yeah, no, it's a great luxury to have. If you're a team that has them or an offense, that's the frustrating thing defensively, is that you could be in the perfect situation and the perfect call, And, you know, those guys are able to go make plays, you know. I think with Philly, which makes that it's not just AJ, you know. They have 6, they have number 1, you know. I think it's been, you know, they had 88 with the tight end, you know, when he was rolling. That was another element, but then they have 3 really good running backs that they do a great job of deploying all of them equally, especially now with 35 being back and healthy. So they do a good job. They really do. And we're going to have to defend. They're going to force us to defend everything. You know, I think our guys came in. We had a great week, got a great plan. Now we just got to go execute and play, and we got to tackle.
Joe, so going back to Bill's question about having a stud number 1, I mean, obviously, you guys have one here on the offensive side of the ball, plus you had a bunch of other talent like you're talking about with Philly. So from a preparation standpoint, as a coordinator, when you know they've got a stud number 1, how much harder does that make your preparation process? Because you know that's the one guy that you don't want to let beat you, even though they've got other guys that are good too,
Sure.
right?
No, I think I understand where you're going. You know, I think it's obviously much easier when you as an offense, you have a elite player, you know, and you can really focus on that guy, you know, especially with it being a receiver, especially being within the passing game. But I think what makes these guys unique is they have 2 really good receivers, you know. They have a quarterback that's not just a guy that can drop back and you know, hurt you with his arm. You know, he can hurt you with his feet, so you got to account for that. And then also, as I said, you know, I think they have, you know, 3 pretty good guys that they can just turn and hand the ball off to. So obviously that poses more challenges for an offense when it's not just a guy that you got to worry about. And then they, you know, arguably have one of the best offensive lines in football. So, but again, that's you know, that's why they've lost 1 game. You know, they're a very good team. You know, the thing I think that has, you know, kind of reared its head, at least the last couple weeks, you know, they've turned the ball over 6 times in the last 2 games. You know, they had 2 last week and they had 4 in the 1 game that they lost to Washington. So, you know, but they're a very good team. They're a very efficient team. And as I stated before with what Nick and Shane have done there, of that they know exactly who they are. And they are saying, hey, this is who we are. This is how we're going to play. Stop us. So, you know, it's a challenge for us. But every week in the National Football League is a challenge. So, you know, we're up for it and we can't wait.
Joe, do teams spy anymore? Like, it seemed like back in the Randall Cunningham days, like this guy was going to spy the quarterback all the time. Does that still happen?
It does. You know, if you go back and watch. If you go back and watch the Colt game just last Sunday, you know, they had a number of different ways to do it. You know, the linebacker, number 44 for the Colts, you'll see. If you go back to the Dallas game, they did it with a safety a couple times. Number 6 came down. And it looks like he's just kind of playing a rover or a low hole, but their eyes are on number 1. So, I mean, that's been something. I mean, we used to have to do that back in the day when I was at the Bucs with Michael Vick, you know, because that's in the conventional run game, you're always trying to get, you know, what we call a free hitter at the ball. You know, you're trying to get a guy that can, you know, make a tackle. Now, sometimes offensives will come crack block that guy. Well, then you got to have a corner crack replace. Well, the thing that's hard when you have the quarterback as the ball carrier, you don't have a free hitter for the quarterback because numbers-wise, they're able to get a hat on a hat. They're able to get a blocker on every defensive player when the quarterback is a ball carrier. And that's what that's when you got to start going into zero coverages and spies like you're talking about and all those things. And that's just, again, another added element of what makes this offense special is that you not only have to cover the 2 great wideouts, you not only have to tackle the running backs, you got to deal with this number 1 as a runner, and that's it's a big challenge.
Joe, how frustrated were you with the coverage breakdowns against Tennessee, and just what's your assessment of what was going on there?
Yeah, it was unfortunate, you know, because I know we of course, you know, you got a 50-50 chance when the ball's snapped that it can be run or pass. You know, that's just you know how you got to play defense. And obviously, going back to that game plan, you know, you got to put a ton into stopping Derrick Henry when you play the Titans. And I thought our guys, they were, especially on a short week, I thought they were up for the challenge and really, you know, beside the screenplay that he got out on, you know, I thought we did a really good job on him. But the explosion plays were really our downfall in that game, and specifically, you know, the 3 or 4 in the passing game. And you know, it was unfortunate, and it was very frustrating, to answer your specific question. But you know, that's why communication on every single play is so vital. You know, because you know, kind of as you guys were mentioning, you know, yesterday's game when you were talking about Jefferson at the Vikings, you know, great players. Whether you got a great player on defense and a great player on offense, the ball goes up. You got 2 great players on a 50-50 ball, you know. But when guys are running free, when guys are wide open because of a communication breakdown, because of you know, coach, I was trying to go make a play. You know, I just wanted to make a play to help the team win. Instead of just doing your job, you know, you can play one play at a time. If they come out in a stack, if they come out in a bunch, we have an adjustment, use that adjustment, play that play, and then go make a play when you have an opportunity. So there's a lot of things that go into, you know, when there is a breakdown. But that was frustrating last Thursday. But, you know, as I tell you all the time, we addressed it. We cleaned it up. We learned from it. You go back out, start a new week, and you practice those things. And the guys have done a good job moving on to the Eagles.
2 more, please.
What do you mean to get Devondre back? I know he practiced today.
He did.
Obviously, he had a really good game before he got hurt.
Yeah, that was the thing that, you know, I think Dre was kind of finding his way into a groove, a good groove. So yeah, we've definitely missed him the last couple weeks. But it was nice to have 59 out at practice today. He ran around a little bit, so we'll see when how he feels tomorrow when he comes in. But it was great having him back on the grass today.
Joe, going back to Rob's spy question.
Yeah.
Obviously, the pro is that you try and limit a running quarterback from ripping your heart out. What are the cons to using one? What are the issues that maybe come from it?
Well, I mean, a lot of times in a perfect world, you know, I've talked to you guys about, you know, in the passing game specifically, for example, when you can deploy 8 people into coverage and rely on your 4-man rush, you know, if you can do that, that's the perfect world. You know, now there's challenges in that because I tell you guys all the time, there's 6 lanes that a quarterback can scramble. There's 6, and well, if you have 4 rushers, you know, that's why if you can dominate with a 4-man rush, that's why it's so huge. But the simplest way to answer that is that when you have to deploy, you know, not only your 4-man rush, or if you have a 5-man rush, but then if you have to account for an additional player to spy the quarterback, well, that's obviously taking away from something else. So, you know, when you play against a guy like that, sometimes you have to say, listen, we have no other recourse. We have no other choice. We have to deploy X amount of bodies on this guy to take care of him. But that's the negative to it, is when you have to put a spy or some kind of extra set of eyes on that quarterback. It's obviously taking that one of your 11 players away from doing something else.